Good morning. How we doing today, guys? I hope you're well. I am sorry I'm a little bit late. Whoa, there we go. Because I was working on the senior graduation playlist. And I was trying a couple of new songs and getting rid of a couple of other ones and working on some flow. It's a whole process. So, how are we this fine Thursday? It's definitely Thursday. It is hard for me to remember that right now. And I'm trying to decide. I'm actually kind of like sort of under control in terms of work and all of that sort of stuff right now. So that's good. So I don't have a huge amount of grading left to do for my honors kids. Just whatever they do today and tomorrow and whatever they turn into me at the last moment, because 100% that will happen. And seniors, you're finalized. What you see in the grade book is what you're getting on the report card. Nothing I can do about it now. And it's been a pleasure teaching you guys. It really has been. So, who out there is listening? Who have I got? Jump into the chat and let me say hi to you. And perhaps you can give me an idea of what I want to draw today. I don't know. I haven't considered. Hey, Josh, how are you, sir? Congratulations on the superlative. I'm not surprised. Good work, by the way, in my class. Good job pulling that grade up where you needed it to be. Very proud of you. And hey, Josh, as a musical person, what I'm looking for right now, I just need a couple more pieces to the playlist. How am I doing? I'm doing better today. Monday and Tuesday were rough. Yesterday I was exhausted because Monday and Tuesday were so rough. But I'm doing well. You know, I actually got some sleep last night, so that's always a plus. Yeah. So you are a musical guy, Josh. Is there any artist who you think is just an absolute like must include in any playlist? Like, is there somebody for whom it's like the base of every playlist you create? Because like I have my personal taste and I'm trying as best I can to blend that with what I know you guys like and already listen to and kind of stretch that a little bit. So my problem is always that I know I don't listen to the same things you guys do. And I do have broad musical tastes and everything, so I like listening to some different stuff, but it's not my go-to on repeat. But I am just trying to make sure that I am kind of considering the palette, right? So I'm working on it. I feel like I'm about 85% of the way there. Got a little bit more work to do on it. And in the meantime, I want to figure out something to draw, but I'm not sure what I want to draw today. Let's see here. Leslie Odom. Oh, Revo. Very nice. I like both of those. Those are good. I'm not Here's the thing with regards to, like, profanity and such in music, like, I don't particularly mind it when I'm listening for myself, and there are kind of degrees of profanity, right? So, like, I'm less upset by the occasional F-bomb than I am by, like, misogynistic language or, like, racial slurs. Now, granted, like, that is a complicated world in which, like, that language occurs, but especially, like, as a white woman creating a playlist, I'm like, that's probably not something I should be including at all, ever. But yeah, like, clean is better. Clean is better. Um, I'll have to go through some of their stuff and see what I can find. Yeah. Hey, did you ever see Harriet, Josh? Because I have not seen it, and I keep trying to, like, decide whether or not I wanna rent it. Um, and I've heard such mixed sort of accounts. Yeah, no, Miguel is no, I agree. Yeah, no, maybe not. Yeah, some of that you're like, "Mm, mute button." Yeah, but, yeah, like, thinking of Erivo, like, I've read such mixed reviews of Harriet. Some people are like, "I don't know what that was," but other people really love it, and Harriet Tubman is amazing, and I kind of want her. It is so good and it's so worth your time. Okay. Alright. Alright. I trust your judgment, kid. I will watch it. I was so busy when it came out, and I was like, "I really wanna see it," and then it got kinda weird reviews, like, some people it was really polarized, and I was kind of, you know, a bit confused by that. Yeah, I have a friend of mine who talks about who she's a historian of, popular culture, which is amazing. And she particularly focuses on Black experience in popular culture, and sort of the roles that are available to Black actors, and sort of the genre of films that exist. And the slavery film is one of them, right? And they're just so excruciatingly painful, like, all the time. Um, so, well, I'm glad to hear that it wasn't like that it had elements that were a little bit more up. I don't wanna say upbeat. Um, yeah. I mean, the casting looked amazing. When I saw the cast and I saw the preview, I was like, "Yes, please give that to me immediately." Hey, Kamaya. How you doing, honey? What are those sad eyes for? Is it just that you miss seeing each other? Mhm. I'm doing okay today, kiddo. I'm doing better than I was yesterday and earlier in the week. You miss Josh. Everybody misses Josh. I'm trying to decide what I wanna draw today. I don't know. Any suggestions? What should I draw? Yesterday I did a museum. The day before that, I was grading like crazy, and Kamaya got to see me like just zone out and grade for an hour and a half. She's playing Aretha Franklin. Oh my gosh. Yes, please. Only if she like Aretha Franklin was a queen. Like, she needs to do that thing where she like gets up from the piano and throws like a a, a, a first stole off of her shoulders with like absolute insouciance. Yeah, like yes. You're anxious about work. You're waiting for them to release a schedule for you. Yeah, it takes a while, doesn't it? Sometimes. You need money. Same. Everybody does, honey. That's not new. Okay, all right. Explícame, porfa. Like vegan spicy tuna sushi. Obviously, if it's vegan, then there is no tuna. So what are you using to sub in for tuna? Carrot pulp. Okay. All right. I was going to say, not sure how you do that. Oh, Tabitha Brown? Yeah. A downtown scene or a city themed drawing. Okay. All right. All right. I will try. City themes require an awful lot in the way of perspective drawings, but I will give it a shot. Okay. Your mom said draw yourself as a little girl is what you wanted to be when you grow up. That's gonna win 100%. I absolutely know what I wanted to be when I grew up. Hang on a second. 100%. I know what I want. I can do that. I'm going to have to do some significant alterations to it. Hang on. Let me download the picture. Come on. Stop it. No. Download image. Perfect. Here. That's what I wanted to be when I grew up. 100%. I wanted to be Indiana Jones. Still kind of do. It's because I found out that there was a job called archaeology. I was like, that's cool. It has 3 vowels in a row because I was a nerd. Actually, it's because I read a book when I was like 7. It was a Boxcar children's book. I don't know if you guys know who they are, but it's like a kids mystery series, sort of like Nancy Drew, only for younger kids. And in the second book, The Secret of the Yellow House, one of the characters in the story is an archaeologist, and I thought that was the coolest thing in the world. Like, your job was to dig up old stuff. Like, that's amazing. That sounds so great. And then I watched Indiana Jones and I was like, yes, that is what an archaeologist does. It is not at all what an archaeologist does, like, at all. It is so deeply unethical. But I desperately wanted to be Indiana Jones. Hey, Raiders of the Your mother has excellent taste. Raiders is a great movie. I love Raiders. The second one is pretty terrible, but but in like an entertaining sort of way. Yeah, the second one is pretty terrible, but the third one, Temple of no, that's Temple of Doom. Doom is the second one. Last Crusade is pretty good too. I do like that one a lot. I do not acknowledge the fourth one. It didn't happen. But yeah. You've never watched Indiana Jones? Oh my gosh. It's so good. I mean, like, it is so incredibly deeply problematic in terms of its treatment of like archaeology and everything. I kind of want okay. I saw something on Twitter like years ago, and I sort of want it to actually happen. Someone was saying, you know, we do need to reboot the Indiana Jones series, but but part of the problem is that in the story, yeah, they're looking for the Holy Grail. In that one. Part of the problem with Indiana Jones is that he keeps going to places and taking other people's like sacred objects. That's not okay, man. Like, that's colonialism and it's real bad. And I have lots of very complicated feelings about like museums as a result of it. Like, one of the things that I adore about Black Panther is that scene where Killmonger is in the museum and he like explicitly calls them out for like having a collection that is deeply colonized, and doesn't acknowledge it. And that's awesome. Like, that is really that's something that ethical curators and like people who actually are concerned about like representation and acknowledgement of like the sources of art really should wrestle with more frequently. But regardless, the thing that I really that the thing that I saw on Twitter was basically like, yeah, we need to reboot the Indiana Jones series. But you know what we need to do? First of all, it could use some gender equity. So let's flip the gender of the character, right? So they said, okay, instead of having Indiana Jones like go out and steal objects from different cultures and bring them into a museum and, you know, all of that, which is bad, they should uh, repatriate objects. So they were like, how about like Lupita Nyong'o as Indiana Jones? Only what she does is she's still an archaeologist, but this time she's like kind of doing it with cultural sensitivity. And like when museums refuse to like repatriate objects and everything, she helps people get their objects back. And I was like, oh man, that'd be so good, and I'd watch the heck out of it. That'd be a great movie. What's my favorite genre? I don't know, man. That's like asking me what kind of genre of music I like best. That's a hard question. Um, I really like. I mean, oh, gosh. I like historical dramas a whole lot. I can't do horror. Come on, I just can't. I get too caught up in my own head, and my brain doesn't like it very much. Um, I'm just not a horror person at all. But I do like suspense, assuming that the suspense is, you know, reasonable and not like horrific. Like Silence of the Lambs is more, in my opinion, more of like a suspense um, piece than it is something that's really horror based because you never see anything. Um, I like foreign films a whole lot. I guess I kind of like drawing room comedies, and I don't mean that in like a stuffy way, but I I don't like comedies that are embarrassment comedies. Yeah? Like I I really can't watch The Office for very long. It makes me too uncomfortable. Yeah. Yeah, it makes me too uncomfortable to watch people do dumb things and then just be supremely unaware of it. Like it makes me physically uncomfortable, and I have to get up and leave. So like any movie with Will Ferrell in it is kind of out for me. I just does not work for me at all. I also really like film noir from like the 40s. Like that is some good stuff. One of my favorite movies is a film noir um, from 1944. What Happened to Monday? What kind of movie is it? Yeah, the last movie I watched here was I rewatched Emma, which I just loved. I thought it was really beautifully done. Been meaning to watch Belle because I do enjoy like a good costume drama. But like there's kind of a fine line on costume dramas. Like I don't like sounds I don't like super sad ones. Like I don't mind some pain and suffering, but like I don't want it to all be sad. It's kind of dystopian. All right. Okay. I love The Marvelous Mrs. Maisel. It's perfect. It is so good because I really enjoy like again, it's kind of that period like drawing room comedy. It's got such good performances. And it has it like a more than one woman in it, right? More than one woman passes the Bechdel test, which is always nice. I'd love to hang out with you, Miss Dixon. How has the quarantine life been treating you, Josh? I'm very worried about all of you guys. Well, tell your father I said hello as well. I don't know how good I am going to be at. So usually I do some sort of. Oh, that's a bad angle. Wow, that's pretty terrible. I'm just going to draw Harrison Ford and not myself. Ooh. I can do that a little bit better. I definitely am one of those people who needs like a photo reference in order to be able to draw, or at least to have the thing in front of me as I draw it. Trying to draw like a self portrait without a picture of myself in front of me is rough. So we're not going to do that right now. Although I do appreciate your mom's suggestion. So this is a little bit of a vacation for you. The boredom hasn't hit in? You are one of the busiest kids I've ever seen, frankly. Hmm. That might be a bad pick for that image. Let's see here. That's better. I like that one better anyway. The quarantine needs to be over for cancer season. You're a cancer too? I will say, I don't put a whole lot of stock in in a lot of astrology, but if it makes you happy, it's harmless. You say that, but you never want to really do anything for your birthday, so never mind. I'm excited because they announced that they're releasing Hamilton just a couple of days before my birthday on Disney Plus. Woohoo. That's pretty great. Happy birthday to me. July 20th. Yep, mine is the 7th. You're correct. Mhm. Yeah, my birthday is the 7th, which means that I never got a birthday party in class and that everyone was always out of town when it was my birthday because I'd be gone for the 4th. So my birthday parties were always sort of like, "Are you around?" No. Oh, okay. On the other hand, I could always pretend that the fireworks were secretly for me, which I did frequently. You're a winter baby? I don't know if I'd like that because at least my birthday is almost exact. I mean, it's like, it's a good ways away from like Christmas holidays and everything. So, like, people can't try to single dip me on presents. I mean, they could. It'd be kind of rude. I would volunteer right now, except I kind of always need one of you guys to lead it because I always forget the lyrics. Dr. McCoy would be so ashamed of me. We could try to make sure that like people could set up a Zoom call for you this summer and sing it to you. That is a thing that could happen. Yeah, I'm just going to draw Harrison Ford. It's just easier. But, just sub me in there for it because that's exactly what I wanted when I was like 8 or whatever. And then for a brief period of time, right after Jurassic Park came out, I really wanted to be a paleontologist. And then I did none of those things and went to school. Ooh, I don't know if that's right. Went to school and was an anthropologist, which is kind of like the attempting to be more grown up sort of like association of like being an archaeologist or being Indiana Jones. I was trying to be more practical. Didn't work out. I don't know. My perspective is super off today. Yesterday I was doing pretty well on it. Today, not so much. Win some, lose some. Okay. Oof. It does not look like his face is lined up correctly. And in fact, it is not. What is my favorite musical? Ooh. Well, I mean, like, the cliche is to say Hamilton. And I do really love Hamilton a whole lot. A lot. A lot, a lot. But I am also extremely fond of Hadestown. And I like Chorus Line, man. Chorus Line is deeply underrated. And I do love it a whole lot. My parents have an LP of like the original cast recording. And I used to sing along to it, even though there are portions that are definitely not appropriate for like, the 13-year-old girl that I was. But it is an excellent, excellent musical. And I do love it. What about you? What's your favorite? I also really dig The Great Comet. And I was so sorry when it went off of Broadway before I got a chance to see it. What about you? What's your pick? The Color Purple. Oh, my aunt, well, she's technically my step aunt, but whatever, family is complicated. My aunt is a filmmaker, and she did a documentary about high schools, particularly, she lives in North Carolina, but particularly looking at a performing arts high school in her area, outside of Charlotte, that has majority minority population, and she did a film about essentially like this high school musical teacher and theater programs for populations that don't always have access to arts and arts education and everything. And it is so good. And I cry every time I watch it. It's really good. And it's the kids in the documentary are putting on The Color Purple. Yeah. It'd be really great to be able to do something like that at North Cobb, but I mean, shows like that are so specific and so important that I feel like you've got to be really, really good. Yeah. Not that we aren't, but that you just need to have like, you need to know that you got the cast, right? You can't fake it. It's not a play that you can just kind of like hope that you've got it. You have to know going in that you've got an incredibly strong cast that can handle that sort of stuff. And you said that you were doing a lot of reading of plays, right? So you were reading Fences. Have you read any others since? Do you think you want to do any more theater in college, Josh? What's the highest high at this point in your life? Yours is GHP. I was so sad to see that they were going to have to cancel this year's GHP. I understand why it's the right decision. I don't disagree with it. I just am so sad for the kids who aren't going to get a chance to go. GHP for me in high school would have been absolutely hands down my high point. It was incredibly formative for me. It was really great. Because prior to that, I was a quiet, nerdy kid in the back of the classroom. I was still a quiet, nerdy kid in the back of the classroom afterwards. but I didn't have to be, and I knew that. Um, like, because I did like the poetry readings, and because I was a comm arts person. So I did the poetry readings and did stupid, silly stuff with other people um, who were talented, and kind of got the affirmation that I was good at stuff too. Like, I thought I'd been good at stuff before, but like when it's just you saying things, you're like, I don't know, am I like being a jerk and like thinking more highly of myself than I really like deserve? But no, I'm good at things. And that's always really nice to know that you do in fact have talents and that people appreciate them. So yeah, JHP was super important to me. Good. I'm glad you're going to keep up with it. Yeah. To date, like now, gosh, I don't know. There's a lot of smaller moments, right? Um, Writing things that you're proud of, you know, finishing various programs for education, things like that. Getting a job after the recession, that was rough. I really feel for people who are graduating right now because it ain't going to be great for a while. I was talking with Miss Brown, whose daughter just got her teaching degree this year, and she's been looking for work. But a lot of a lot of school boards have kind of frozen the hiring process right now because they're not sure what next year is going to look like. Um, and I was talking to her about, I spent a year and a half looking during the recession, and it sucked a whole lot. And I guess what I'm really proud of is that I didn't give up, that I stuck with it and I worked. Yeah, JHP was really great for kind of just getting a sense of who you were and what you wanted, and getting a feel for other people who had those sort of aspirations as well, and who didn't judge you for them, right? So when you were like, I want to write a poem, people were like, cool, write the poem. Let's hear it. Instead of being like, really? That's what you want to do for fun? It's also the first place that I like really was exposed to kind of like counterculture, or a lot of non-American sort of popular culture. So like watched my first foreign films there and all of that sort of stuff. And that was really, really important. Just getting a sense of like, oh, hey, other parts of the world produce art too. Should probably pay attention to that. Keep thinking eventually I would like to teach one summer at JHP. I'd need to apply. But the problem is, and it's not really a problem because it's definitely a privilege, is that I spend a lot of summers traveling with the magnet program. And that's awesome. And I'm so glad I get to do it. But it also means that it's kind of hard for me to commit um, to teaching a summer. Because I mean, like, how do you say no to, hey, Miss Galloway, do you want to come with us on a trip to Scandinavia? Like, you don't say no to that and everything. You were a theater minor? I'm very jealous. Not that I really would like to do theater because I don't like people looking at me. Kind of freaks me out. Which means I should probably be freaked out by the webcam, but I'm not because it's not actually a human being. So I can pretend you're not actually there. Not that I am, but I can. Um, But I don't like people looking at me, like, physically. Um, so no, theater wouldn't have been good for me. But I do really enjoy the the reading portion of it. In fact, I took a one of the Com Arts courses I took was directing Shakespeare. And basically, we watched a ton of different adaptations of Shakespearean plays, and then talked about different ways that you can stage them, ways that they are more contemporary than most people tend to think. And we did sort of table reads of a number of plays, and that I really enjoyed, because dramatic readings are different than, or at least for me, I feel like they're different from straight up acting. Well, yeah, I mean, there's no camera, so I can't tell if I'm looking you in the eye or not. I probably am not, and everything like that. But the camera's not real. It's the only thing I got is the camera's not real. People are real. Tried to explain it to a friend of mine though once, kind of the gendered perspective on the "I don't like people looking at me" sort of thing. Um, also, we were talking about film, and I was trying to explain the notion of the male gaze in film. And he was like, I don't get it. Is it just because there's a dude filmmaker? And I was like, no, no, women directors frequently use the male gaze too, because it's filmic language, right? It's shot composition that we're so socialized to that we're very, very used to the structure. So it feels weird when we don't do it. Um, and the best way I could think about it was that, like, for women in the world, frequently, you never just walk into a room. There's always some part of you that is detached from that and is watching yourself walk into a room. And like, I'm hyper judgmental of myself, and so I imagine that everybody else is as well. Even though most people are far too busy to be that concerned with what I am doing or saying, and it's pretty, self-centered to assume that they're not. Um, but it's still there in my head, even though I know it's not rational. So, okay. Can you get an update on that drawing? Only if we ignore his face, because it looks really terrible right now. I'm working on it. This one's hard. There's a reason I don't do portraits of adults, man. I did a friend's baby a couple of weeks back, and that was horrifically, like, nerve-wracking because I was like, "Oh, if I misdraw her baby, she's gonna hate me." Um, but babies have really big features, and that makes them easier to draw, at least for me. Because so long as that nose is wrong, it's so frustrating. Because, yeah, so babies have really large features, which is useful to a degree because that means there's a little bit more forgiveness in terms of the shape of things. Um, I told my friend, I was like, if I made your baby ugly, I'm super sorry. She's like, no, actually, you made the baby too cute. It's like, good. When in doubt, err on the side of adorable when you're drawing children. People aren't offended by that, whereas they might be offended if you make their baby super ugly. Right now he looks like he's a million years old, but that's because I haven't done any shading yet. Or at least that's my excuse right now, and I'm sticking to it. Okay. This is pretty horrific. I don't know, man. This one might be one for the trash can, but we'll keep playing it out and see what we got. Your mother is trying to give you a lineup as you speak. All right, explícame, por favor. What do you mean by a lineup? Oh, or is she doing a haircut? Is that what you mean? I should be able to figure these out by context clues. Yeah, my hair is getting a little bit on the long side, but you know, I can live with long hair. It's not the end of the world. It is, however, one of those moments where I'm intensely grateful that I did not decide to like color my hair before we jumped into this. Oh, you did your hair this weekend? I realized earlier this week that my hair is now legitimately long enough to easily go up into a ponytail, and I could start braiding it if I wanted to. Which is weird for me because I don't usually do that. I usually keep it pretty short. How long did it take you to do your hair, Kamaya? $2? Oh my goodness, my dear. Well, I am sure it looks beautiful. 2 days. I don't have that kind of patience. Have I picked up any new skills? Speaking of burritos, my burrito wrapping skills have gotten remarkably good. Like, I don't want to brag, but I feel like I could probably be gainfully employed at like Chipotle at this point. That is something I'm very proud of. We take our victories where we can find them. Other things that I've gotten good at. Um, you've never had a burrito? Oh, Josh. Truly, the best burritos are streetcar burritos, which you probably can't find right now. But an acceptable substitute can be found at places like Moe's or Chipotle. They're not fantastic, they're not the best of burritos, but they are better than nothing. Burritos are important, Josh. I'm listening to some Bad Bunny right now while I'm talking to you guys, because I very much like Bad Bunny. And I am not really paying a whole lot of attention to the lyrics right now because, it's in Spanish and I'd really have to work at it. But I am 90% certain he just said, I'm not a Pokemon. 90% sure. I'm going to have to go back and look that up. Favorite foreign cuisine? Italian. Oh, you're going to take Italian in college. That'll set you up nicely. Favorite cuisine? That's really hard. I don't know. I just like food. I very much like Japanese food is really good. Although I'm pretty picky about I do like sushi, but I'm not crazy about sashimi. It's kind of hit or miss for me. I really like Cuban food. Cuban food is so good, man. So good. Like a proper Cuban sandwich or like proper Cuban black bean soup or something like that is really good. Cuban coffee is my favorite. So I really like Cuban food. Plantains. Oh my gosh, plantains. I really want plantains right now. But yeah, I really, really like Cuban food a whole lot. So that might be mine. But otherwise I do like French food is pretty dang good. France isn't on my I Coach Ald takes or Mr. Ald takes people to France relatively frequently, and that's cool. And those trips tend to sell out very, very quickly because lots and lots of students want to go on them, and that's good. But France is never on my list of places I desperately want to go. Spanish food is really good, like tapas. I like those a lot. But I think maybe the best meal I've ever had outside of the United States was in Greece. We were at this roadside restaurant right outside of Delphi, the place where the oracles were, right? And the kids were getting lamb and everything, and I'd had lamb the night before. I didn't really want lamb. And I really didn't want that much. So I decided to get just a salad, and it had olives and fresh tomatoes and mozzarella and a little bit of olive oil and and tzatziki. No, it didn't have mozzarella. That was in Italy. It had olives and tomatoes and a little bit of olive oil and some herbs, and then it was served with fresh tzatziki, which is like yogurt and cucumbers and some other stuff in it, and it was amazing. From your mom, question. If I could have dinner with one person, who would it be? Living or dead? Ooh. I mean, part of me says like my maternal grandmother, because she died before I remember her. She died when I was about 3 months old. So part of me says I would really very much like to meet my mom's mom. That would be kind of, just on a personal level, that would be someone I would really want to meet, because my mom tells me all the time that I would have liked her a lot, that we're very similar. So that would be one. But sort of great thinkers, Ida B. Wells. Yes, she is a rock star, and I love her. I want to know how she managed to keep writing about lynchings when her own life was threatened. I have nothing but admiration for her work. So Ida B. Wells would definitely be one. Nellie Bly is pretty fascinating too. She was a newspaper reporter during kind of the era of yellow journalism, but she did investigative reportings on things like sanitariums. She got herself committed to a sanitarium so that she could write about the conditions that women were living under there, and like the abuses that they suffered and everything. And she did really beautiful work on it. So she would be a good pick. Dorothy Parker, because I love her poetry and I want to talk to her and maybe gently suggest that she get some like counseling. Virginia Woolf, like there's a pattern. I want to talk to women. I just there are a lot of great men out there that I would be very interested in talking to as well. But I think prefer to talk to women who are often ignored. Nice. He's not looking like Harrison Ford, but now he's looking more like a human. That's good to know. Okay. I gotta work on that hand. Hands are impossible. Oh, Mount Rushmore with 4 influential women. Well, first of all, I wouldn't put it at Mount Rushmore because I'd be worried about like the Lakota people and their territory. But if there were a physically neutral location where people didn't mind, let's take Stone Mountain and do that. Okay. So I feel like Harriet Tubman needs to be up there. I desperately want her on my money. I think that'd be good. So I think Harriet Tubman would be a good pick. I mean, if we're looking for sort of like the same sort of status and purpose as the 4 figures in Rushmore are, like in terms of like building the nation, Eleanor Roosevelt, Dolores Huerta. Dolores Huerta. She was a farm worker organizer. And she is deeply involved in like Chicano movements. Who else? Gosh, I'm trying to think. Toni Morrison, maybe, in terms of artistic production, maybe. Song of Solomon is amazing. I'm trying to think of like artistic contributions. I mean, like you could always make the argument for like Abigail Adams, but but she was mostly an advisory role. Um, and then when you get into people like Elizabeth Cady Stanton and like Susan B. Anthony, yeah, like they're super important in terms of suffrage movements for white women, and often they explicitly embraced like a, a limitation of Black women's rights, and that's where I have a hard time sort of commemorating those. Yeah, Toni Morrison. Yeah, have you read much of her work, Kamaya? I had I hadn't read any of hers until I took AP Lit, and then we read Beloved, and my brain basically exploded. It was like, you can do that with language? What? I like it. Michelle Obama is amazing, and I keep meaning to read her memoir. My mother's been reading it, but I haven't read it yet. Um, Partially because I'm not a big like autobiography sort of person. I find them interesting as historical sources, but kind of like deeply suspect as actual narratives, because so frequently they're interested in aggrandizing sort of the accomplishments or rewriting sort of the history that the person has experienced. Um, and so as a result, I don't always necessarily trust them as reporting of events. On the other hand, I think Michelle Obama is amazing, and I'm pretty sure hers is probably remarkably accurate. I haven't watched that on Netflix yet. I need to. I need to. I definitely need to. It's on my queue, and it keeps getting suggested to me like, "Hey, you might like this." And I'm like, "You're right. I probably will like that." I just haven't watched it yet. Okay. She is pretty remarkable. His hand looks too small, but it's, I don't know, maybe when I add in more detail on that. This is what happens when you don't have drawing classes and you just fake it. No, I haven't seen The Piano Lesson. Is it a play or a movie? If you're asking Red, I would assume it's a play, but no, I haven't seen it. What's the subject matter? Well, that sounds like a tearjerker. I would imagine. I have a hard time reading plays without having other people there to read them with me, you know? Um, I think maybe because the whole point of the play itself is to hear different voices. Um, and so I kind of almost need that table read sort of experience to be able to hear it properly. So, like in high school, when we do read alouds of well, we didn't just read Shakespeare, but it was usually Shakespeare. But like when we were reading plays and everything, um, it was really good if you were in a class that had people who could read fluidly and like with a lot of expression, and really painful if you weren't. Um, and I distinctly remember, um, I like it. Huh. So it's kind of like wrestling with the notion of to what degree do you connect sort of the objects with the memory, maybe, is if that's kind of that's where I would go with that story. But at any rate, like we'd be reading Macbeth or something like that. And I would count ahead and figure out what day, because we'd sign up for the parts on the day of. You'd volunteer and you'd be like, I want to read Lady Macbeth on this day. So I'd count ahead and figure out which days would hold like the big ticket scenes. And then I'd sign up for Lady Macbeth on those days because I couldn't stand it when people read it really badly. Starting to look a little better. Still doesn't look like Harrison Ford, but we are getting the shape of a person, and that's good. Because for a while there, that wasn't happening. Yeah. 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 If you don't have like decent readers, yeah, if you don't have the good readers, like it is over, man. I I had I had a particular nemesis in high school. She didn't know she was my nemesis. I just did not like her. She was in my AP Chem class, and it was just she and I were the only girls in that class. And I was so frustrated with her because she was clearly in the class because that's the class her boyfriend was in. And like, she did nothing productive. And it was so frustrating. It was like, I could use a little female solidarity here. It's the boys' club. Like, we're supposed to have each other's back, and you are just not helping. But regardless, she would sign up to be like Lady Macbeth. And the way she would read it would be like, but screw your courage to your sticking place, and we'll not fail. And I was like, nope, nope, not happening on my watch. So, so I would count ahead to like the breakdown days when I knew that Lady Macbeth would be having, because I'd already read the play. So I'd, you know, go ahead and figure out what days had the good stuff and sign up for it. So Courtney couldn't. Oh, that's extremely petty of me. But it happens. And I mean, to be fair, Shakespeare is really hard to read for a lot of people. Although it's the same sort of thing that I hear you guys have trouble with a lot in terms of when you guys are talking about AP Lit, like having difficult times reading the poetry. And I feel like maybe Miss Foster and I talk about this sometimes, trying to explain to you guys that you read to the punctuation. You don't ever read to the end of the line. You read to the punctuation, and that's how you read like Shakespeare and poetry is you read to the punctuation, and I feel like maybe it's because you see the line breaks and everything, and you build up this big mental block to it, but you just read it to the punctuation. But I am a massive Shakespeare nerd, and I always enjoy it. Almost forgot his other ear. Most people have two. Yeah. Where are you, what did you decide on, kid? I know I've seen it. I just have blocked it. My memory is terrible right now. It's so bad. I get distracted super easily at the moment. My ability to like focus is gone. Part of it's because I'm here at home and I never grade at home ever because I get distracted at home and I know that. Go dogs. Have you submitted like your housing and all of that sort of stuff? I know that's sort of up in the air right now, but like what are you thinking for your dorm life? Brumby. Brumby, I'm so glad it's renovated now because it did not used to be very nice. My mother was actually an RA in Brumby way back in the 70s. I make fun of her for that all the time because when I was there, Brumby was all women's and it was mostly sorority girls, which wasn't exactly my scene, but that's cool. New media and music business certificate with music ed or one certificate. I did a couple. Well, I did one certificate program. Certificates are good when you kind of want to show that you've focused on an area, but maybe they don't offer a major in that area, or you didn't really want to like put all your fish in that particular barrel. So my areas were whatchamacallit, um, Latin American studies. So I have a Latin American studies certificate. Um, and I mean, ultimately, it comes down to what you think is going to be most practical. Ooh, that nose is terrible. I am not good at noses, man. That's better. Still doesn't look like Harrison Ford. That's okay. I don't know enough about those programs to offer you advice on it. Um, all I can say is give it a semester, give it a semester to figure out, kind of work your way through it a little bit, get a sense of what professors you want to work with, talk to people in your program. So I would really advise getting involved. Sure. This is what I got so far. Doesn't look like Harrison Ford at all, but we're just going to roll with it. I haven't finished the hat yet, or the idol, but there you go. Your mother is far too kind. But we knew that already. Okay. And I've got to head out fairly soon as well because I am low on groceries. More importantly, low on toilet paper. So I might have to go and do the great toilet paper hunt today. Thank you. It doesn't look like Harrison Ford though, but we will roll with it looks like a human being. And sometimes that's all you can hope for when you do these things. You're like, well, it does look human. So that's at least a plus. feel like his mouth is crooked. I think here's the thing, Josh. I am 100% convinced that when people say they can't draw, it's just that they haven't learned to kind of like focus on the seeing. Like, granted, there are some people who do have limitations and everything, and not everybody's going to be really great at everything. But like, it's sort of like when people say they can't sing, unless you truly cannot differentiate between tones. I honestly think that people can, develop those skills. See you later, Kamaya. I'm gonna head out pretty quickly as well here, but I really think that people can develop those skills. It's just a matter of knowing how. Um, like for me, so I have taken a grand total of one art class, which is what happens when your schedule in high school was super, super constrained. AP classes, as you understand, kid, don't give you a whole lot of space for just fun things, you know? Um, I still don't know that it looks like him, but looks a little bit better. Um, but like for me, drawing is like 90% just kind of looking for shape. And once I kind of like learn to stop looking at the whole and just instead focus on shape, it becomes a whole heck of a lot easier. Okay. All right. See ya, honey. Okay. And there we go. That's what I got done during this time. So I will finish it up and I can show it to you tomorrow. Okay. Bye.